putting an end to identity politics. This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. Got some news about Jesse Jackson. We were going to talk about this the other day, and we didn't get to it. But he made a major health announcement. And before I get into that, I want to talk a little bit about Jesse Jackson and my perspective as a kid growing up with him. Because as an adult, I can easily tell you that Jesse Jackson has devastated the black community. He's decimated it as well. His shameful tactics of using blacks whenever he wanted to get something accomplished for his personal mission, it hurt blacks in immeasurable ways. And I remember how my grandparents, who are lifelong Democrats, held Jesse Jackson in high esteem. We would watch this guy on TV, and they would be, just point to him like that. Now that's who you need to watch, And I would listen to Jesse Jackson come on with his, you need to put hope in your brain and not dope in your veins. I am somebody. You are somebody. And he would just go on to this, these very, even at an early age, I thought these were like very trite things. I witnessed a whiny complainer out for himself. This circus act that I just described. And I recognized it. Maybe I was 12 years old. And I remember thinking to myself, how could other people not see this? You need to put hope in your brains and not dope in your veins. And I remember that was one of the first things I remember Jesse Jackson saying. And I know that's a positive sounding message, but that's the message that hides the sinister underbelly of what Jesse Jackson really represented. He wanted to make people believe, I'm empowering your black children. I am somebody, I'm black and I'm proud, whatever else. And maybe he did. Maybe some people heard it that way. I could recognize underneath it very early. And as much damage as I believe Jesse Jackson has done to the black community, I don't wish him any ill will. I'll let God be his judge. And the reason why I say that is I want to talk about he was diagnosed with Parkinson's. And here's what the USA wrote. Civil rights leader, Reverend Jesse Jackson. That's when you know you're reading a leftist rag. Civil rights leader, Reverend Jesse Jackson. They could have just said Jesse Jackson Sr. And they could have said icon of the civil rights movement. Things like that. He's iconic, but he's not a leader. Has been diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. Jackson, 76, made the announcement in a letter to supporters saying he was diagnosed 2 years ago with neurodegenerative disorder that results from loss of cells in various parts of the brain that control movement. The disease also affected his father. And it's ripe for jokes. We always talk about leftists being brain damaged, and they are. But I didn't touch it. I left it alone. Jackson says, after a battery of tests, my physicians identified the issue as Parkinson's disease, a disease that bested my father, he wrote. I didn't know senior Jesse Jackson, beyond him, whatever his father's name, I didn't know he died of Parkinson's as well. So I want to find out more about that. I'm curious about it. He says, recognition of the effects of this disease on me have been painful, and I've been slow to grasp the gravity of it. For me, a Parkinson diagnosis is not a stop sign, but rather a signal that I must make my lifestyle changes and dedicate myself to physical therapy in hopes of slowing the disease's progression. So he's 76 years old. Jesse Jackson has spent a lifetime essentially riling people up for his own personal benefit. And he, look, I'm not going to, he's writing a letter to the people that believe in his work. And he's saying, I'm going to have to change. I would have recommended Jesse Jackson is 76 years old and his shtick hasn't changed a bit. The only thing that changed in Jesse Jackson's miserable life is his reception of the work that he does, which is, again, it's such a slap in the face. It's an affront to not only blacks, but to Americans in general. And he should have stopped this decades ago. He should have recognized it, and he should have turned his organization into something for good. And now he's on the trailing edge of life. And I'm talking pretty far down the slope. He's been diagnosed with a debilitating brain disorder. And now, it's going to give him, all kinds of shakes. I remember watching Ali become a fraction of the man. By the way, when you've seen Jesse Jackson, if you've seen him recently, you see he's got all the signs that Ali had when he was, outside of the shaking, but you can see some of it. But he's got the signs. He's had them for a long time. This isn't a 2-year-old thing for him. He's noticed it. I said this, I hope he shifts his priorities. I hope he dedicates himself to real pursuits and stops crushing the black community. Further, I hope he tells the truth about the work that he's done before he dies. I remember Jesse Jackson came to Ferguson during the riots, or whatever you want to call it. And he was in a car and he got spotted. I think they'd gone to a fast food place. And a brother comes up to him with a camera and he's like, "Hey, Jesse Jackson, yeah, you here?" He said, and Jesse Jackson says something like, "Yeah, I marched." And the brother goes, "You didn't march." He goes, "No, you didn't." He said, "We marched." He goes, "We marched for hours. You were nowhere to be found." And see, Jesse Jackson was going to try to put it out there that he marched with the people in Ferguson. And they go, "You didn't march." And eventually it got belligerent to the point where I'm not exactly, if you see the video, it's easy to find. Jesse Jackson's kind of like, wow, we maybe need to get out of here. And the dude driving the car is kind of like, they're both in shock. They're thinking, I'm with this icon. Black people are going to love what he's doing. Black people, in fact, the guy said, "We don't need you here. You need to go. He's like, you are nothing. We have no respect for you." It was embarrassing is what it was. But I was proud of the people. They didn't have it right. They were talking about, we need to be marching for Michael Brown, this, that, and the other. And if they believed in the cause, congratulations to them. But what they did know is that Jesse Jackson wasn't there to help. Jesse Jackson was there to feather his own nest. Now, I remember it was a priceless look. You got to see that video. It was like Jesse Jackson was saying, "I don't even know these Negroes. Who are these people? What planet am I on?" It was a shock. And what's funny, Jackson was no friend of Obama. Yeah. A few weeks after Jackson had whispered that he wanted to cut off Obama's pecans, you know what I'm talking about, he was still running with scissors. He made the front page news in Israeli newspapers after he told an interviewer that Obama's presidency will remove the clout of, quote, Zionists who have controlled American policy for decades. Yeah, I'm not sure whether he was, saying that the election of Obama, because he hated the Jews, was going to finally be it was going to be a good thing. And for the record, Jackson was right. Yeah, he was right. Barack Obama he really did a number on the relationship between Israel and the United States. The Obama campaign national security spokesperson at the time, her name was Wendy Marigi, she said, "As he has made clear throughout his career and throughout his campaign, Barack Obama has a fundamental commitment to a strong U.S.-Israel relationship." Whatever. Anyway, I don't want to focus on that. I want to go back to, the Jesse Jackson saga. Jesse Jackson was about his paychecks, folks. I remember when Thomas Sowell was asked, "Would you ever want to meet with Jesse Jackson to explain your point of view?" And Thomas Sowell was very succinct. He says, "No." He goes, "Why would I get between a man and his paycheck?" And I thought, how profound. Why would I get between a man and his paycheck? He's going, he wanted to meet with Al Sharpton. But it was the same difference. He's like, you're not going to reason with a guy who's making a living doing what he's doing. You're not going to reason with him. You know what's scary to Sharpton and Jackson? They're afraid to come over to the side of righteousness, not because they don't think about the money. They could make money. Can you imagine Al Sharpton saying, "You know what? I am so wrong. and coming over to the right and explaining all the things he got wrong, he'd be on the speaking circuit. What he doesn't like is he'd lose black supporters. That black support is like a drug to these people. They can't handle it. Anyway, look, I don't wish Jesse Jackson any ill will, because I don't wish that on many men at all, and I'm not going to start with him, because there are others that may deserve it more. But he needs to come clean.
He won't stop until he's the top-rated radio talk show host in America.
What kind of weird competitive freak are you?
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.